After doing the rough flattening of your slabs, it's very important to take a look at them and fill whatever defects or voids might be in the slabs so that in the future, food particles, dust, dirt don't actually stay in your tabletops. In the case of this chunk of white oak, there's a pretty significant end check and then also some bark inclusions. There are 3 different types of tape that we generally keep in the shop. A standard painter's 3M blue tape, clear packing tape, and then a 3M metallic tape. Each one has various working properties, but in the case of what we're doing now, the metallic tape is really the perfect tape for the application, as it's extremely sticky, very low profile, and spans gaps very well. In order to fill various cracks and voids, we do that from the back side of all of the surfaces. When using the West Systems epoxy 105 resin 205 hardener, an exothermic or heat generating reaction occurs, and at this point bubbles occur in the epoxy. So by filling our epoxy from the back side of the table surface, the bubbles are going to migrate to the bottom of the table, leaving a pure black, no bubble surface, filling the crack on the top of your table. In order to create that, we're going to use our metallic tape to tape off the top of our table, or in this case, a small slab of white oak that we're going to be filling. We cover the entire crack with the tape, and at which point use the back of our chisel or any hard surface to get good adhesion between the wood and the tape. When taping off the end, I'm going to leave the tape a little bit proud on the top surface, or in this case, the bottom surface of our tabletop, but the top surface of what we are filling. Many products are used by various craftsmen in order to tint epoxy. The issue with using sawdust to tint epoxy is an inconsistent particulate size, which then wouldn't allow the epoxy to migrate into the very far sections of the crack that we need to fill. In order to tint our epoxy black, we use artist charcoal that is graded that can be purchased at any art store. In order to perfectly measure out the West Systems epoxy, we utilize the various pumps that are sold with the epoxy. So 1 pump to 1 pump is the appropriate ratio. The charcoal is so fine, it only requires a very small amount in order to tint our epoxy black. So a quick mix on that, and then we're going to just pour it very, very lightly into the largest portion of the crack, leaving airspace at the other side of the crack that allows the air to escape from the crack as the epoxy migrates through the various sections. Depending on temperature, your open time on the glue will be anywhere from about 10 minutes up to many hours. Now, as I finished pouring epoxy down the entire crack, you see a bubble has formed right here, and that's because I've capped off all of the escaping air with epoxy. As the air pushes out of the fixed void, the epoxy can be blown on just slightly, which pops the bubble and allows the air to escape. Once the epoxy is fully cured, it's very, very dense and very brittle, which allows it to be sanded effectively. Simply sand off the excess on the surface of the tabletop and continue with your joining.